I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Board of Education meeting. This is a workshop meeting. However, before we engage in our workshop topics, I do have to ask for a motion to open this meeting for a public meeting for voting on a few items. So do I have a motion? Jackie, a second. Christy, thank you. And we just have to wait for the information to be loaded into our agenda.
No pressure at all, Lori.
Yeah, no pressure.
It's making verify that I actually work here. Can't help that one.
You have to refresh. Sorry about that. You got it? Can you read it? Thanks.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the transportation contract with Southern Westchester BOCES for regular and special education students for the estimated amount of $4,820 for the 2024-2025 school year.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Rob? All in favor? Great. Consent passes. Okay, now, do I have a motion to close the public meeting and to enter into our workshop meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Matt. Do I have a second? Thank you, Rob. All right, so we are now in officially the workshop session of our Board of Education meeting. So tonight, Dr. Valenti will be making a presentation, followed by a presentation by our elementary teachers regarding the Great Books program. So I would just ask board members to hold off on questions until the end of the presentation. Dr. Valenti?
Actually, Dr. Valenti, before you get started, procedurally, we have to go back because we only approved one piece of the consent agenda. So,
Consent agenda approval.
right, so that one resolution isn't there, so I'll just very quickly read all of them, and we'll just do, Lori, we'll do a quick roll call with a second, okay? Not a problem. So the second one is a personnel item. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, at the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby terminates the interim appointment of Thomas Puccini as athletic director effective November 16th, and furthermore agrees to approve as a tenured special education teacher at his contractual rate. Do we have a second on that? Rob, all in favor?
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, no, totally fine. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, with the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the agreement of interim athletic director of athletics, Mr. John Bowerlane. Do I have a second on that? Jackie, all in favor? Thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, with the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the resignation of mathematics teacher Michael Resnick, effective January 12th, 2025. Do I have a second on that? Rob, all in favor? Thank you. And last, be it resolved that the Board of Education, with the recommendation of the superintendent, approves an MOA with the Eastchester School District and the Eastchester Teachers Association as per the attached. Do I have a second on that? Jackie, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us while we got through the procedural motions.
Thank you.
And now we should just make a motion to end the voting portion for public
Right.
meeting. So do I have a motion on that? Jackie, a second. Chrissy, all in favor? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are now in our workshop mode. And let's talk a little bit about what we'd like to do tonight. We want to introduce our new interim athletic director. We'd like to talk a little bit about the board workshop schedule, which begins tonight. A few words about the survey we ran throughout the community. I have some initial findings. And then we want to dedicate the majority of our time to our elementary initiatives, grades 2 to 5. So without further ado, John, come on up here. John Bowerline. John, I don't know if you need any introduction, but John has spent 12 years as athletic director for Pleasantville Schools, 7 years as the AD at Dover School District. He's the 2021 Section 1 Athletic Director of the Year. I must say, of the 3 individuals we interviewed, John loomed as obviously the most experienced and expert, and clearly the committee felt very strongly in recommending John as our new interim athletic director. He's hit the ground running as of last Wednesday, right? Was that the first day?
Yes, sir.
So the mic is yours, John. Why don't you say a few words to the board, the community, and the streaming live?
I haven't got that much applause since I resigned from Pleasantville. But it was good. It was all good. I thank Dr. Valente as well as the Eastchester community for giving me this opportunity. It's been a pleasure working with Stephanie in the athletic office as well as Vito. They've really tried to get me up to speed as much as possible with all the inner workings of the athletic office, as well as introducing me to a lot of people. It's going to take me a little while to get to know some names, but I will do my best to make the experience for the Eastchester athlete as best as I can in the time that I will be here. If anyone has any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll figure out how to do that as well.
Very good. So beginning with tonight, we are looking at a series of workshops that will focus on our academic programs. As I mentioned earlier, tonight are kindergarten through 5th grade initiatives. As soon as next Tuesday on December 3rd, and I think moving the meeting to 7 p.m. allows more time for presentations. We would like to focus on 6 to 12 initiatives, and at that time, Chris Welch, Madeline LeBoux, joined by their respective teams, will address the advanced placement, both performance trends and participation rates. What we're doing in earth science, building on the Algebra Regents program, and a little bit about the writing revolution, which began in the middle school and is now in its 2nd full year. The rest of the district is just about 1 year behind the middle school, and It's a multi-year plan where all the schools will have completed this by the end of the following year. In January, we'd like to dedicate an entire session to K-12 initiatives, focusing on Center for Family and Student Services and areas that are aligned to that. And then on a date to be determined, probably no later than February, early February, we'd like to have our high school team back to talk about secondary scheduling. We are looking very seriously at the 9-period schedule. A number of people would welcome certain changes in that area. So we've charged the secondary administration, working with a committee, to come forward with some recommendations at that time. All of these are scheduled prior to the budget, so if there are budget implications, then we can introduce those items into the 25-26 budget. So that's where we're at right now. We did an accelerated learning gifted education survey community-wide. We closed out the responses on November 15th. We had 349 respondents, and they broke out, as we anticipated, mostly at the elementary level, 3/4, 3 out of 4, if you would, representing elementary K-5 respondents. A much smaller group, grades 6 to 7, and we anticipated the smallest group being grades 9 to 12, because the focus of the question was in terms of gifted ed and accelerated learning. And to some degree, we're doing a good deal of that at the upper middle school and certainly at the high school. I just want to share with you tonight some of the highlights, and we'll take a deeper dive at a future workshop, maybe as soon as next week. But we asked the question, how important is it for the district to introduce accelerated learning or gifted programs for students in grades K to 7? And we noted that we do currently sponsor advanced accelerated programs, definitely grades 8 to 12. And of the respondents that we mentioned earlier, about 350, 53% thought it was extremely important, and another 30.7%. So clearly, the community, the 350 respondents, to the degree they're representative, definitely of the parent body and the families in Eastchester, are giving us a clear green light to take a harder look at what we might be able to do at our elementary level, both in accelerated learning and gifted programs. So that's one headline. The community is giving a clear green light to the district, the board, and the administration. Second question, do you think that your student's child would benefit from a gifted or accelerated learning program, again, grades K-7, and very closely aligned to the question we just addressed? About 3 out of 4 said yes. 10% did say no, and another 16% were unsure. So we could headline this one as 3 out of 4 were pretty confident that their children would benefit. The next question, 4, how often has your child expressed a need for more challenging work or courses in their current K-7 classes? 41%, close to 42%, said frequently. Another 33% said occasionally. Only about 25 or 26% were in the rarely to never category. So again, what seems to be clear here from the data trending is 3 out of 4 families is saying, yes, do something about exploring the program. Yes, we think our students would benefit and be more challenged if indeed we did get to that point. So We will follow up some other questions. There was a trove of information and comments. Folks took that very seriously. There were a lot of comments elicited. We'll try and summarize them to some degree. But with the close-ended questions, I think we're seeing a trend where 3 out of 4 are saying, we'd like to see the district do more, explore more, find out more, and then come back and let us know what you do find out. So I think that concludes what I was looking for in terms of at least opening the door to understand where we're going. Possibly as soon as December the 3rd, we'll have some other information from other close-ended items, and then at a future date, we'll try and summarize for you what folks' comments were more in depth. So the main show tonight, that was just the opener. The main show is our FLES program at Ann Hutchinson in Greenvale. And we're very proud of what we did at Waverly. Waverly is now in its second year of the FLES Foreign Language Elementary School program. So on that note, we will call our principals to the microphone.
The FLES teachers are coming.
Whomever, okay?
Dr. Valenti, just
Come on,
Dr.
guys.
Valenti?
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on up. Yeah.
Just very quickly before they call, quick question, and I'm not even sure if we have the numbers. Looking at the numbers coming out of the survey, there were about 255 respondents that were K through 5, and of those, about 211 respondents said that they're looking for more, or the student is saying more. Do we know what percentage of the population that is of elementary? Like, I'm just wondering, are there 5,000 potential people and 211?
No.
Or saying they need, I don't, just
No,
for
if you
perspective.
add up the 3 elementaries, you're probably in the neighborhood of 1,600 pupils. So if your numerator is 211, you can do the math. It's about 1/8
Got it.
of
Okay.
your total
Thank you.
sample. Yeah.
I was just curious, what was that sample size that was looking for that in terms of
Yeah, that's the best
percentages?
way to look at
Okay.
it. Now, that's not a bad sample size. It's in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%.
Sure.
But obviously, people who respond to a survey are more interested in seeing the results of a survey.
Totally.
But you can't blame that, but those are tendencies within survey research.
Thank you.
Okay, so please come forward, and all I ask is that you keep it moving, right? Okay, because we got a lot of stuff. So introduce yourselves to the board and the community, and you're on, guys.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're here to present the FLES program. My name is Paola Pelosi, and I am the FLES teacher at Greenville.
My name is Arelis Rodriguez, and I'm the FLES teacher at Hutchinson.
Unfortunately, the teacher at Waverly couldn't make it today. She had a family emergency, but her name is Claudia Riley, and we'll go over what she has done at Waverly.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys this evening. Thank you.
So our agenda today is we're going to discuss a little bit about what is FLES, benefits of FLES, different levels of proficiency, and we're going to take a look at, the structure of FLES, our curriculum.
We also going to look at 45 minutes lesson, give you a glance of it. Also our classroom in action and what our classroom looks like.
So what is FLES? FLES is Foundational Language Early Start Program that is designed to provide quality instruction to students in foreign language prior to middle school. FLES program, we focus on the listening and speaking skills and on cultural awareness. As you can see on the bottom, these are the modes of communication that our lesson plans include.
Some of the benefits of FLES, we have cognitive advantage and linguistic advantage. I'm just going to mention 2 of them. Increase the problem solving and critical thinking skills. Also, the younger a child acquire a second language, the faster they learn, and also they may be able to speak the language like a native, right? There are 5 levels of proficiency and language acquisition. However, because of the purpose of our program, we're going to focus on the novice level. Right now, our students are, we have the novice low, all the two levels, novice low, novice mid, novice high. Our students right now are in the beginning level of language acquisitions with a novice low. At this point, students are able to use phrases, words, repetitive phrases, and sometimes they can develop simple sentence.
So our FRESC curriculum was started last year at Waverly, and that was based on the social studies curriculum and also on the World Readiness Standards of Learning Languages. For that curriculum, we now use for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade with modifications. So those units are myself, my family, my friends, my community, and my world.
This year, we had developed a 1st and 2nd grade curriculum, which is a continuation of last year. The units are 5 senses, my well-being, my activities, my celebrations, and my pets.
And for these two curriculums that are created for FLES, we try to incorporate put students in real life situations where they can compare and make connections with their own lives. So here's a sample of how our lessons start. We always start with an objective, and you can see that we have visuals for the students to be able to understand that objective, and then we go over the rules of the classroom, and then we have incorporated the mood meter into our lessons, which students can make connections of the word in Spanish to the word in English, since they see it in their other classrooms as well. We also incorporate a video so students can, at Waverly they sing, but for 2nd and 5th grade, we watch videos in order for them to comprehend the content better. We also, for example, this lesson was about what we like and what we don't like, and we included fruits for them to be able to say, what they like and dislike.
So, and here the task is to encourage a student to use simple phrases to express likes and dislikes about fruit, and combining basic vocabulary as well presentational skills. For example, also in the cultural comparison, we compare, like for example, in Latin American countries, we have the same fruit have different names. So we look at those things and say, okay, in one country you call it fresa, but in another country, for example, Mexico, la frutilla. So they learn, different cultures that way as well. Another one that we touched upon was at the Dominican Republic. We learned that, different fruits that come from the Dominican Republic, musical instruments, the music. And for example, they learned that one of the fruits that are typical from the Dominican Republic is la piña. Also, we incorporate students asking questions and answering with simple phrases, and topics that are familiar to them and that they can use on a daily basis. For example, in this case, with this lesson was like the like and dislikes about fruit. Again, reinforcing the communication skills and the interpersonal communication. For example, that was a scenario that we built upon this lesson was students was imagined that they went to the supermarket and they were shopping and they were they had to present to the class what they liked and didn't like.
So here is a classroom at Waverly. Claudia O'Reilly, who's the teacher, she does centers where she has students read, and you can see on the bottom picture they are listening. She also displays the student works, and she also has a corner in that room that she has artifacts from the country that the unit is about. We're gonna watch a video about learning the body parts, and they were grabbing different body parts from a box, and they were trying to figure out what it was. And you can see FLES is all about helping each other. So you can see that there was a student trying to help him say the correct word.
Alpaca.
Muy bien.
Playing a memory game, and then on the farther right, you can see that they're learning about the sense of taste, and which they're writing on a whiteboard. And then over here, the one on the left, they are in a circle and they're going into the box again and trying to grab something and figure out what the texture is. And then in the middle video is at the beginning of the year, they were going over things that they've learned the year prior and talking about what their name is and how they are doing that day.
¿Cómo te llamas? Alright. ¿Cómo estás? Bien.
And then on the other picture, you can see an activity that they did at the beginning of the year about what their name is.
Okay, here our Flex Classroom and Hatch. As you can see, we use a lot of visuals. What is very important, especially at the beginning level or language acquisition, is to use gestures, visual to help support the student learning. You see vocabulary everywhere in the classroom, so the students always can look back and help them complete the task. At the top, in the right-hand corner, you can see all the questions we have covered, and you will see in one of the videos, one of the culminating activities where they talk all about themselves. Learning action, we see one of the units is about family. First, we learn the basic vocabularies about family. We create our own pictures and label, as well as creating our family tree. And they had to, mention what is the relation for each family member. On the right-hand corner, we can see that's something that we do as a routine, and that helps also with the communication skills. They talk about, we go over the calendar, the weather. That's just a routine that we do every single day. The first video is the culminating activity all about me, where they get to present. And for me, this is very important because you can see the students they volunteer themselves and they're not afraid, to speak the target language.
Daniel, mi color favorite es azul. Me gusta chancho. Esta soy yo. Yo tengo 10 años. Yo soy niño y amigable.
Gracias.
So in this one, I can see the word chancho for him was hilarious because he's originally his parents from Puerto Rico, and they always ask, what is all the way that we call these articulate animals? So we had 5 different names of, that we call pig in Spanish. So for him, it was very important to learn that word. And now we're going to watch another video. Oh, what happened? No, what happened with my video?
Can you explain what it is?
Aw, that was so sad. No, really, it doesn't show? I don't know why it's not working. It was working before. This is one of my students, Matthew Connelly, I believe. He's presenting his family too bad you're not be able to listen, but he was presenting his whole family tree. He did a wonderful job. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't even recognize that was my son. Now I'm looking a little closer.
he was like, can I do it, Ms. Rodriguez? So I said, go ahead, let's do it. So it's unfortunate that we cannot, I don't know why we cannot play the video. It was before we were able to play, so I don't know.
We'll send it to you. All right, this is our classroom at Greenville. As you can see on the left side, we have a lot of visuals with all the vocabulary we're seeing in that unit. This is very important in a flash classroom, as when you ask questions, they always look at this wall for answers. We also have different passwords in the classroom, so if they're asking how to go to the bathroom, It's always posted in the front of the classroom. We always have students' work on the back of the classroom, and they love to see that. They always stand there and just look over all the students' work. Everything, as you can see on the right-hand corner on the bottom, everything is labeled in the classroom. And then we have a spotlight of a month that the unit is about. So we can see that this month is Guatemala. So I included the foods and also where it's located and the little pictures of the country. So on the left side, you can see that students are playing a game with a fortune teller. And in the fortune teller, it has different colors, so they get to choose a color, then a number, and then a question. And in that question, they're questions that we have actually learned in class. This video that I'm about to play is a student, also like Ann Hutchinson, presenting their All About Me project.
Hola, me llamo Luca. Mi color favorito es azul. Me gusta la pera, pelo corto, pelo café, niño, bajo. Yo tengo 8 años. Yo soy divertido.
And then the other video I'm going to play for you is, like Aurelis was saying, is a routine that we always do every time they come in. It's a calendar, and this student is going over the days of the week.
Lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, domingo.
Now, on this picture, you can see that they're playing a memory game. I always like to do this when it comes to my lessons. So for example, we were learning about the fruits, so this helps reinforce that vocabulary. So they were trying to match. They were getting very competitive, but they loved it. And on this video that I'm about to play, they are having a conversation back and forth about what their favorite color is.
¿Cuál es tu color favorito? Mi color favorito es rosado y morado. ¿Y tú, cuál es tu color favorito? Mi color favorito es rojo y azul.
Okay, and now we're gonna play you a video highlighting the FLES program at Greenvale and Ann Hutchinson.
Hola, bienvenidos. My name is Señora Pelosi, or Miss Pelosi, and I am the FLES teacher here at Greenvale Elementary School, grades 2 to 5th. Our FLES program is designed to introduce students to essential vocabulary and phrases to be able to communicate in Spanish. We also incorporate cultural elements into the curriculum for students to be able to make connections and to get to know all the traditions and culture of all the countries that speak Spanish. In FLES, we try to incorporate a lot of visuals which the students enjoy, and also we do a lot of activities where they get the students moving. I do see progress in the students, so I have noticed students coming up to me and having to start the conversation. So for example, I see students saying, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" Muy bien, ¿y tú cómo estás? And that is very great to see. I have noticed that students always come into my classroom and say, "Buenos días, buenas tardes," and that is something that, you know, I find that students are starting to retain the language.
Hi, my name is Arelis Rodriguez. I'm the Spanish teacher here in Hash. This year we had the initiative of starting the FLES program in grades 2nd to 5th. The purpose of the program is to expose the children essential vocabulary and common phrases that they can use. The goal is for them to learn how to communicate in Spanish, to have a conversation, because many times children understand the language, but they don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to answer back. So the purpose, we are at this level from 2 to 5th, we are in obese level, which is the basis. Every year they're building and learning new vocabulary. We try to interact and do a lot of conversation, so that way they had the opportunity to practice the language. The program is doing great. The kids are excited. We always have kids who are willing to talk and present their work. For me, it's very exciting as a teacher that I hear my classes next to the playground and I hear them talking in Spanish many times. And when they see me, and they always, they try to talk to me in Spanish. So for me, that's a plus, and that shows me that something is getting into the brain, that they really, the brain is getting wired to acquire the other language.
Well, gracias. Thank you so much.
So just very quickly before you guys just take your seat, not so much a question, but just a couple of comments. The expansion of our FLES program with the support of Dr. Valenti really came out of our Coffee and Conversation series last year and expanding that throughout all of the grades. So I want to thank our building level administrators, Mrs. Capiello, Mrs. Sinisi, and their APs for figuring out how they fit that into the schedule, because I know that was a little bit of a late addition for us. And I want to thank you both and your counterpart at Waverly, because I can tell you through the PTA's emails that we get, the kids are excited. And the word excitement is really important for some of our youngest learners. And I'm looking at Mrs. Batts sitting in the front row here, STEM. The kids are always excited to spend time with Mrs. Batts. And as we're out with folks, they're always excited to spend time with you guys. Looking at the classrooms, Trustee McCluskey said, I can't get over the classrooms. So you guys initially, you're doing a great job. The kids are excited, and I can tell you whether it's with the bus monitor or at home, they're all trying to speak Spanish. And in a very short amount of time, just to point out to the community, some of these kids in these videos are fourth graders. It's the first time they've been exposed to the language. It's not even December yet, and they're up there knowing words, sight words, etc. in another language. So initially, job well done. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much. So the second part of our presentation tonight will be addressing the WIN period. I think everyone knows the WIN period runs about 1 hour per day, or 2 30-minute segments. And it was instituted some years ago in the district for the purpose of definitely serving the needs of our AIS students who may be lagging in ELA and math and need a certain amount of intervention. It also definitely serves our population, our special needs pupils whose IEP required occupational therapy or other types of therapeutic interventions. So the WIN period serves a very unique, purposeful effort for students in the AIS and the special needs area. What it has done for other students is try and help them in areas of greater proficiency. So tonight you're going to see at Greenvale how they work with Fontes and Pinnell and reading, and our folks from Greenvale will address that. But we're also talking about a pilot tonight, and we're going to ask both Ann Huch and Waverly to tell us a little bit about junior grade books and how does that fit into the WIN period. So on that note, can we bring up our, oh, I'm sorry, did you guys put Greenvale next? I think the Ann Huch group did. Ah, I thought so, yeah. So you want me to fast forward to, keep going. Yeah. Is this your start, Laura?
Yes.
And Caitlin? Is this it?
White, isn't it? No, I see gold stars. Yeah, it's okay. Odd.
What happened?
It wasn't black and white, that's fine. See, it's supposed to be a beautiful color like this. We'll take it. But it's a,
Oh, this one, black and white?
yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Us elementary principals were very colorful. Detail oriented.
Well, we like color too. Yeah, so please come to the microphone and let's welcome our elementary principals. I'll give them a great round of applause.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us tonight. You know, I think we're so excited to talk about the WIN because quite often we talk about how we service our population that may need support during the WIN, but I would say the good majority of kids who are left behind in the classroom are receiving on grade level and accelerated learning, not just in literacy, but across the board in math, technology, the content areas, social studies, and science. While tonight we will be focusing on literacy, there is a variety of programming going on in the classroom outside of literacy. You know, all roads do lead back to literacy, but there is much math work going on, projects in social studies and science, technology. You know, this year we're really trying to balance the technology piece because we do not want the children on the Chromebooks for the entire period. They will have the opportunity to work on there. But it's important to identify that there is strict differentiation to meet the needs of all learners, not just our neediest learners, but all learners. And also, you know, we're hoping that in the spring we can highlight where the music program fits into that. Our music program has grown so tremendously in these last few years. We've added another teacher. The program at both Greenvale and Ann Hutch is exploding. Our choral program, I Could Speak of Greenvale, went from 30 students to 70 this year, and we do already have children earmarked who will be going all county. So we're really excited about that. But it's about challenging learners to push them beyond the text that they're working in literacy. You know, we want them to think in the text, around the text, about the text, and then contextualize it into the real world. They do access a variety of texts, both fiction and nonfiction. It's important that they have a balance. There's accountable talk and very rich discussion, not just led by the teacher, but guided and students leading the discussion as well. So here's where we also give children the opportunity to allow them to be leaders in the classroom and to take important leadership roles within reading groups. There's critical thinking and writing activities that go on within both programs and a high level of student engagement. So I think regardless of the program, whether it be Junior Great Books or Fontes and Pinnell, these are programs. Our people are the most important part of all of this, our teachers, what they're bringing to the students and what the students are bringing to one another. So both of these programs allow that opportunity, and tonight we'll be able to highlight how the both of them do that.
So Caitlin and I are piloting Junior Great Books. It's a program by Great Books Foundation. I have personal experience with it. When I was a teacher in the classroom, I used it as well. And we have decided, who better than our teachers, to talk a little bit about the implementation and how it's going. And I think you're starting.
Yep. Okay, so good evening. Thank you for having us. So our Junior Great Books looks a little bit different at Waverly and at Ann Hutch, still using the same program. So when the idea was presented, hey, Waverly, do you want to pilot this supplemental literacy program? You know, I was like, heck yeah, like this is wonderful. But we needed to make it make sense for our early children, right? Our K-1 children. We needed it to make sense. And we also needed it to roll out in a way that was developmentally appropriate and works for Waverly. So we decided to put it into our MTSS, part of our WIN. So the traditional MTSS model, if you think of it, the framework does address academics as well as behavioral and social emotional needs for our youngest learners. So we reimagined how that model, MTSS model, looks. And it's evolving at Waverly because we're not only addressing academic needs, but we're also addressing the needs of every child, which is important. So we are addressing academic as well as social emotional. Junior Great Books is a wonderful program which addresses both sides. So it not only provides opportunities for students to develop key ideas, critical thinking, collaboration, and just working together, but it also builds confidence, resilience, curiosity, and perseverance. And we are seeing such an impact on our youngest learners through rich discussions and just really holding true to our vision of educating the whole child, which I think is very important at every, grade level. But at K1, it's really exciting to see where this could go. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our shared inquiry teacher who is implementing this program with our K1 learners. She used to be the SEL teacher 2 years ago. She built that program from the ground up. So it only made sense to have someone with that SEL background to implement this program. So Dee Dee Carpenito, please come up and she's going to speak to you about the components.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Mrs. Mondelli. Good evening, Dr. Valenti. Thank you for having me, Board of Education, administrators, teachers, staff, and community members. I am delighted to be a part of the piloted program of Junior Great Books for our K1 Littlest Eagles of the community. It's a wonderful program. It's a supplemental literacy program. So it is happening during the WIN period, and it does fall under the MTSS model. How am I implementing this program for 30 minutes during the WIN period? Sorry. I am pulling small groups for approximately 30 minutes. Our WIN block has been extended from 45 minutes. Now it's actually 60 minutes. So within that 60-minute WIN period, I'm able to pull 2 small groups. So essentially, I'm seeing about 8 groups per day. And I'm able to cycle through all of the classes at Waverly, which is a beautiful thing. The program itself is comprised of an anthology of 12 short stories. So it really works out beautifully if you're looking at how will this be structured across the school year. When we began this program, we really looked at, well, how would we span it over the course of the year? I'm able to see every class at Waverly and cycle through about every 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, with the holidays and such. So the kids are excited to come to Junior Great Books. We call it book club, and I'm able to show up to their classroom. They are excited to see me. At first, there is a social emotional component because they're our youngest learners. Some of them saw me at Waverly last year. Our kindergartners didn't see me at Waverly. So, they kind of questioned, like, who is this teacher coming to pick us up? And I'm like, let's go. We're going to go to book club now. And they really get excited. From where they were just last month, because I would say the program's been running about 5 weeks now, to where they are currently, and I'm only on the 2nd story, I'm already seeing tremendous growth. I am seeing students that are quiet and reserved and are sponges, that are just taking it all in, to the students that are really wanting to participate and have the confidence, but can only build upon it more. So there is a range within the groups of 4 to 6 students that I'm already seeing just a range and how they're, basically reacting to this exciting program. So the family engagement is there. As you could see, board members, we included the student workbooks that go home, the family engagement for each letter, and the welcome letter that went home from me last month. When families of the students were notified, they were all notified of all the 12 stories that would be covered this year. So after every story, there is a little activity that is optional because I don't want them to feel like they have to do it. I will tell you more often than not, I am getting the projects and activities back because they're excited. They go home, they read these stories. I've also shared with families, please don't go ahead in the workbook. I'm going to send you home this beautiful work that they do. Please don't read ahead. And it's funny, as I've met parents from parent-teacher conferences, they've told me, oh, my child will not let me even turn the page. So it's interesting how it's worked out. I see them 4 consecutive sessions, so 30-minute sessions. It's very structured. The first day we read the story. There is a response with a quick little drawing. They have wonderings and questions. Every single student, they have a different question about the story, the character, something comes up. And then the second day, because I know this came up, with curiosity last month, well, how are these littlest learners going to read these, rich literature stories and poems? Well, you know what? They do. They have it in front of them the second day. And I can't tell you how amazing our kindergarten and first grade teachers are at Waverly, that they are coming in. They know good reading behaviors. They know how to go from top, bottom, left to right. They are following along with me in kindergarten. And when I tell you, if your child is in the program or you're seeing these stories now, they are great, great stories. So the fact that they're doing this work is so important. In terms of assessment, the workbook, the student products, what are they sharing? The critical thinking piece, are they wondering? Are they sharing? What is the conversation like? I just told them, for this second story, here's our goal. We're going to start wondering. You're going to question about the text. But guess what the second goal is? You're not going to raise your hand with Mrs. Carpenito anymore. What? What is this idea? Yeah, you're going to be actively listening. You're going to take time and be patient for your turn. You're going to keep that idea in your mind. And then you know what? You're going to build upon your friend's ideas. And you're going to think about what I'm saying. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you don't. Maybe you agree with a friend. Maybe you don't. So using that accountable talk. And how is this impacting students? Well, it's a piloted model. So what I'm seeing from this is that these kids want to learn and grow and come to book club. And they are excited. They're excited to learn. Overall, we're getting positive feedback. I feel like students, just from last month, are more optimistic, more engaged, and obviously the social emotional component is they are becoming more confident in speaking and listening and sharing their ideas. So the engagement is there, and I'm really just delighted to be a part of it. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And just to add very briefly, what Ms. Carpenito just went through is actually happening from the community perspective and from my own firsthand experience. I have a kindergartner who is currently in this program. He is super excited about it. He loves to go. And I know in one of our board meetings, as Mrs. Cappiello was rolling out Great Books, one of the questions that I had about Waverly was, how are these little kids going to do this? And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I see it with my own son, where he's starting to put words and sentences together and beginning to read. And it's in a very, very short amount of time. You're doing an amazing job. So thank you for all that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So then, you know what? We're going to see it in action. So this is a glimpse into Junior Great Books at Waverly.
Oh, just that we really, okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Mondelli, and I'm the principal at Waverly School.
Hi, my name is Dee Dee Carpenito. I'm the MTSS Shared Inquiry teacher here at Waverly.
This year, we are very excited to welcome Junior Great Books. It is a pilot supplemental literacy program for our K-1 learners. It's designed to nurture critical thinking, reading comprehension, and discussion skills through engaging stories, thought-provoking questions, and the shared inquiry method.
I will be pulling small groups that are working to build upon their higher level thinking skills, critical thinking skills, comprehension, and being able to build on their confidence in speaking and listening, and in turn being able to piggyback ideas off their peers and interpreting text in meaningful ways and in different ways. The children will listen to rich literature, wonderful stories, they're short stories, and they will not only listen, but eventually will build upon reading them together, and they will develop questions, wonderings, things that they notice as they're reading.
You know, ELA, we often think of just reading, kids reading in books. Are they able to decode? Are they able to read? But ELA encompasses so much more. The discussions, having the language, being able to articulate your thoughts, and the thinking work, which is often the harder piece, is the one that I'm very, very excited that Junior Great Books can help to develop. She's honing in on more of the discussion piece, and so that we're seeing come to life a lot more.
You already know what this story's about, correct? You can tell me some of the characters in the story without raising their hands.
Rosalinda.
Friends, why is La Anciana the only person Rosalinda tells about the Nightman?
Because maybe she doesn't feel scared to talk to her about it.
Do you think anything else helped the tree grow really, really well?
Yes.
What else could have helped the tree grow beautiful, big lemons? Emma, I love that you're not raising your hand in Book Club. Good job.
Students are making personal connections. They're also, thinking beyond what's in the story, and they are providing their opinions. So just having the opportunity, the safe space to make their thinking visible and to back it up with their own personal reasons or even, their experiences, it's really a joy to see. These are life skills that they'll have with them for years to come.
As we're looking at these videos, I also just said to a couple of the trustees here, the quality and the way these videos are put together and the difference is amazing. Guys, great job. It's amazing. And what I was actually saying to Rob is, both of these programs that we just witnessed, and I'm very excited about them because there's a couple of reasons. We've now seen full circle on both of these things, where an idea was implemented, it was fit in, and now we see the kids in practice. And frankly, that's what this is all about. Perhaps there's a way to get these videos out to the community, up on our website, out on Parent Square, or something along those lines. It looks like Mrs. Cappiello has already been talking about that. We're working on it. Awesome.
Is that Joe Blue? Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. That's great. And the only other thing that I'll say just very quickly is it's also nice to see the way that these kids are learning. They're moving around the classroom. They're in small groups. They're active versus what Dr. Valente always talks about, kind of just that lecture type style, which is probably why the kids are so excited about these programs also. So this has been fantastic. Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Okay. Here we are.
Oh, now you have to go back to slide 30, right?
Okay, so it is really exciting to see our youngest learners because then they come up with all of this and it's a true foundation. So at Ann Hutch, it's a little different how we implemented and then how Junior Great Books now is in all of the classrooms. So we started with a cohort. We have different cohorts. And what that means is different teachers in different grade levels are learning. And then myself, both the assistant principal, Mrs. Parisi, with the help of our librarian, Ms. Spearings, and our literacy coach, we actually push into the classrooms. And we are giving support to the teachers as they learn the implementation. And then we're following up with the teachers. And so we're going to get into the specifics, and I'm really proud to call up teachers who are doing this every day. Mrs. Santoro, grade 5. Mrs. Carlo, grade 4. Mrs. Panico, grade 4. Mrs. Pearlstein, grade 3. And Mrs. Keene, grade 2, and they're going to take it from here.
Oh, okay. Why Junior Great Books? I'm Deanna Santoro, 5th grade. And so, did I steal yours, Eleni?
No. Okay. So the first thing is reading comprehension, critical thinking skills, structured discussions, creative and critical writing and reflection. And at Waverly, you saw the shared inquiry day. But what's really neat is that the first week that we did the shared inquiry, and I think we had like 8 responses where kids, they weren't sure what to do or how to respond. And then once we've gotten the ball rolling and they learn that they can really just talk and say whatever they want, whenever they want, with the structure of, I agree with you, I disagree with you, as shown on page 46, this is why I agree with you. We're now up to 30, 40 responses in the last story last week, which was our 4th story. And so it's really neat to see them having me sit back and them having the discussion themselves about literature, which is really neat to see in 5th grade. So I definitely see a difference in the excitement of the kids, even as 5th graders, who are sometimes hard to get excited about things other than sports. And so yeah, so that's more junior grade books.
I'm gonna go to the next one. So what are the key benefits of junior grade books? Building critical thinking skills. It encourages analytical and interpretive reading. It promotes evidence-based reasoning. So before a child explains why they have a thought, they have to go back and back it up with text evidence, which is a wonderful practice. It fosters thinking outside the box, encourages creative thinking, challenges students to consider multiple interpretations. It's very difficult for them to realize that there's not a right or wrong answer, that there can be many answers. This has been interesting to see in my class. Also developing 21st century skills, improves overall academic performance, and enhances social and emotional learning by building empathy and cultural understanding through diverse literature.
So we just want to tell you a little bit about the 6-day schedule. Ms. Parisi will go through the days, and I'll tell you just a little bit about what that looks like in the actual classroom.
So we aim to do 1 story in a 6-day cycle. Day 1, the teacher poses a background question to activate the students' prior knowledge and kind of get them curious about the topic. And they do a first read where the students listen to the story. They sit on the carpet, as you can see in the picture, and in a group, they each have a copy of the story. The teacher reads it through, and at the end of the story, they ask all different comprehension questions they have. It could be literal questions, inferential questions, anything that they may have about the story. The teacher will clear up any initial or like major comprehension issues that the students have, but they'll leave the rest of the questions unanswered. The stories end in this kind of ambiguous fashion, which really gets the kids wondering what's gonna happen next and gets them really excited for what's to come.
So the questions, like she said, that they have aren't just literal. They're going through, and in the story, they're actually writing down question marks. So it's just the beginning of annotation. I teach 3rd grade. So this is really exciting to see happening in our classroom. I see kids writing down question marks as the teacher's reading it out loud. They're wondering and underlining certain parts. And when you ask them, actually, we don't even ask them. They kind of join in the conversation like everybody's been saying. But they say their questions, and they're really interesting. Some of them are about authors' structure. Why did they end the story with a question? So things like that, which is so exciting to see.
The second day, and we leave the questions posted in the classroom so the students can always refer back to what was asked and what was answered through the discussions. The second day, the students read the story again, and they read with purpose to gain a deeper comprehension and meaning from the text. So it might be an annotation for our younger students in 2nd grade. They could be acting out different parts of the story. But again, to read the text, to understand it on a deeper level.
And good readers always go back to read a text a second time. So going through that and understanding, and they write down certain letters to help them remember what they wanted to talk about. So our question might be,
when was this character friendly or not friendly? And they're writing down an F next to the part where they're friendly. They're writing down an NF next to the part where they're not friendly. So it's using all that textual evidence to go back and be able to then speak to it at our favorite day in the classroom, which is our discussion day. And that is the students sitting in a circle, and they use their text to go back and they say, on page 43, and they wait until every single person in the circle has turned to page 43, so there's not ruffling of papers, and they really listen to what the other student has to say. They're all looking at the same spot, they're all doing those discussions, and we're really just facilitating, but we take a seat back and we listen to other students add on to what somebody has to say. We listen to students disagree with each other and disagree amicably, but also prove their point. So they're going back to the text and saying, but wait, look at this part. So how does that make sense for what you're saying? And the others, and this is third grade. I'm sometimes in shock when they're doing this and amazed by what they can come up with. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, day 3 is definitely their favorite day, and I think it's because we posed it to them that they are a part of an adult book club, and it's like their big book talk day, and it's like they're so excited to like state their opinions and to back it up with proof from the text, and it's incredible. And what they don't know is they're gaining such amazing skills that they're going to utilize throughout their entire careers. Day 4 is also very exciting for them, and it goes into day 5 sometimes too, depending on the activity, but it's the creative writing piece. So the activities are very different depending on the story, but it's really a time where the students can respond to the text and put their own flair onto it depending on how they interpreted everything, which may be different from their peers. So some activities involved writing thank you letters to different characters, creating a dialogue that didn't happen in the story that maybe they wish they could have seen. The second graders did a drawing of a map of the town and the story. So just some really interesting and fun activities. So oftentimes that will take more than one day, it'll be 2 days.
And then to go on, day 6 is a comprehension check and reflection. So they're going through, they're reflecting on what they read. Sometimes in the upper grades, we have some multiple choice question comprehension quizzes, some short responses, which of course gets them prepared for future testing, things like that. But it is a really great way to have them look at a story, use the text for evidence to be able to answer these questions for comprehension, and they do it really well.
I have a few 5th grade samples that I'll just send around that you can
yes.
take a look at, which is something that Dana was.
I also have some of those creative writing pieces I'll send around from 3rd grade.
All right, so basically the materials that you're seeing right now include an anthology, which houses all of the text the students will need, as well as the journal, which is where all of their work gets completed in. That is where they will prepare for the discussion day as well as for the creative writing assignment. And then also here, which we could pass around too, there is a comprehension check and a reflection at the end. That's where the students can reflect on how they did during the discussion, during the whole cycle, and set a goal for themselves for next time going forward.
So just to summarize, I will say that this was meant to bring in something to push, challenge. For some, it's accelerated learning. For some, it's exposure. So it's differentiated in that sense. I will tell you the engagement from the children has been amazing. I'm visiting a class that's implementing junior grade books almost every day in different grade levels, and they're so excited. And then I just kind of sit and observe and wait for people to give me feedback. And I had teachers who are not even teaching grade books, a service provider, come to me and say, I could not get the kids to stop talking about the story. They just came from grade books and they would not stop talking about the story in 5th grade. So it's been positive feedback. And now, I had a feeling this was good. Yes, thank you. Oh, I'm looking at Joe. All right, and here's the glimpse at Ann Hutch.
Hi, my name is Laura Capiello. I'm the proud principal here at Ann Hutchinson School. I am excited and thrilled to bring in the Junior Great Books program here in grades 2 through 5. Junior Great Books is here to push students and challenge them to think outside the box, to learn how to critically write about what they're reading, and then ultimately be able to speak about their ideas supported by evidence.
Well, I think it's like, it would be good for like learning because there's lots of books that kids would enjoy. They're like fun, silly, and like they're kid appropriate. I love how the books are inspiring.
Which one's your favorite?
Charles. There's this kid that like makes up stories about this kid named Charles, and it's like he makes it up, but like in the end of the story, there's like really no Charles. He was making it up the whole entire story. He's always like staying after school, and he always has like the details of it, so it's kind of obvious once you read it a second time that he's making it up.
There are times when students feel so passionately about their idea, and during discussion they learned how to almost debate the thinking behind the theme or the author's message.
At the end of the story, she gave him $10 to buy the slave shoes, so he wanted to do it again. I think it worked because like he sat on the far side of the table. She was testing him at the beginning by putting the pocketbook there and not looking at him.
The engagement for our readers has really grown in 2 weeks. They're excited. These short stories are so interesting and so deep that they want to continue to discuss them and really read on and read more. So Junior Great Books does a great job at choosing those high interest short stories, and kids really want to get to reading. And I'm really excited about how excited the students are.
Junior Great Books is awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to take Matt's role. I just have to jump in and say I have one of those kids who doesn't tell me anything that she does all day at school. And I didn't even ask her what she did this day, and she just came home and started telling me about this story. I think it was "Thank you, ma'am," something about stealing a purse and blue shoes. I don't really understand, but she was just beyond excited. And I also like the aspect of it where they have cliffhangers, right? Where you're going day 1 through day 6, because the kids these days, they just want an immediate answer to everything in life. And I think it's really great that they're excited for the next day and waiting to hear the rest of the story and talk about it. So I just have to say, I've never seen my 4th grader so excited, and thank you for the program. I think it's awesome.
Maybe I should have gone first. Now we have a lot to follow up on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the WIN period at Greenvale and what we do a little differently. Our program, is a little different than what you would see there. I'd like to invite up Mrs. Diana Nikai, our incredible assistant principal, and Maria Elena Barbuto, our literacy coach. So as we said before, the WIN period is designed to provide very targeted, differentiated instruction to meet the needs of individual students. Whether they need support or enrichment, this is the time that they receive very targeted and specific instruction. Students will get pulled out for speech, OT, counseling, PT, any of the music programs, whether it be orchestra, band, chorus, but even some ENL services will happen at that time. But especially at Greenvale, because we don't have a good chunk of the special ed population, a good majority, if not whole classes, left behind. So this creates a unique time for teachers to be able to really speak to the individual needs of students. We want to make sure that all students receive an appropriate level of instruction and support to help them succeed academically and socially. So I'm going to turn it over to Diana to talk to you a little bit about our structures and how it happens at Greenvale.
Good evening, everybody. So the structure of the WIN at Greenvale is we have an hour every day. Before I really talk about how we utilize that hour, I just want to highlight that the WIN is really a gift. As a teacher, you're always looking for more time. You're always thinking, ooh, they didn't get that. When can I do this? When can I elaborate on that a little bit? And you're just always feeling like you're grasping for more time, and how can you really individualize instruction for students? So having that built into your day every day is such a gift. We have 1 hour every single day in every grade, and it's split up into 2 30-minute blocks for students who are receiving classroom services, outside of the classroom. And within the classroom, we broke it up into 3 20-minute rotations for small group instruction, which is data-based. So we've been working with the teachers on taking a closer look at the data that we have. Look at your Fontes and Pinnell running records. Look at each student as an individual. What is preventing the student from, accelerating to the next level? Is it decoding? Do they have gaps in their phonics instruction? Is it that they're unable to speak to the text? Do they need more support going back to find evidence, retelling events, making inferences? So we really kind of tried to do our due diligence this year with looking at each student at those data meetings to help teachers create groups so that WIN was really differentiated. So even if you have 7 students on your class who are reading on a level R, what does that mean for Johnny? What does that mean for Mary? How are we individualizing that for that child, even if we're calling them a Fontes and Pinnell letter R? So that's something that we've been working on this year, and keeping our groups flexible as well. So once we see that there's growth with a student, you don't want to limit them to staying in that group. We want to, keep the groups flexible and keep them moving. So our goal is really ELA daily and STEM incorporation. So the teacher's role, as we kind of just discussed, is really that guided reading is a huge part of that. Our goal is for teachers to see every guided reading group 3 times a week. Sometimes that can entail phonics if there are gaps. It could be reading comprehension, it could be having discussions, fluency. One of the highlights that I think is unique is that we get to look at literature and nonfiction, and we also get to give students a choice on what they're reading. So teachers really have a chance to say, well, what are you interested in? We have a lot of soccer fans, so we're always looking, okay, do we have Messi? Do we have Ronaldo? Do we have something on Barca? I'm constantly like, what do we have that'll get these kids wanting to read? And then it's unique to say you can be in a book club at this level. You can read this on your own. You can have a discussion with your friends. You can come up with a project based on this book. So it lends itself to reading a book and then extending the activity with their peers, on an independent thing of their own, if you will, to giving them a chance to be creative. We also do writing conferences. A lot of times, we're not just looking at the reading. We're looking at, is this student doing well with reading, discussing, but they're having a very hard time putting what they spoke about into words when they're going to put it down on paper. So that's another part that we're able to do during the WIN. And then there's a lot of group work and enrichment that go on. Like I just spoke about book clubs, project-based learning. We just had an amazing Balloons Over Broadway display at Greenvale. I know we're not really talking about other areas tonight, but Reveal Math extension activities. We had a 5th grade class planning Thanksgiving dinner. We kept throwing them curveballs like, guess what? Aunt Susie's coming now. What are you going to do? You need another pie. And they were like, oh my gosh, just going back and trying to think of, real life situations and revising what they did and rethinking everything. And going into social studies enrichment and science hands-on projects are coming throughout the year for investigations. And then skills practice, sensors, reinforcing those skills that some students need, whether they need, to master those multiplication facts and things like that. So there's support across the board in small group and, students working a little independently. And then technology's role in the WIN period, that was another goal of ours, to really limit the use of technology to 1 20-minute block within the period, and it should be rotating. So we really don't want a student on a device for the entire period. We want students to be monitored to make sure that they're using the technology responsibly. We have Lightspeed, which is wonderful, gives the teacher a glance, so you can see everybody's screen, what they're doing. The teacher can control it to say, this is the website that you can go on during this time, and just really teaching them that you can use the computer to create really amazing things. We have 4th graders doing a weather report on Canva. So they're using technology responsibly and just, making it an effective learning tool and not just using it, let me go on and play a math game, but really using it to create and just build digital literacy. And then to talk a little bit more about Fontes and Pinnell, I'm gonna call up Maria Elena.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Raylena Barbuto. I'm literacy coach at Greenvale. So I just wanted to spend a little time talking to you about the Fontes and Pinnell program that our teachers are using for small group literacy instruction. It really is a beautiful program for several different reasons, but I think my favorite is because it encompasses the whole spectrum of effective literacy instruction, and I'll talk a little bit about how a guided reading lesson does that. First of all, this program allows us to expose children to hundreds of different types of books. Luckily, I get to house these books in my office, so the perimeter of my room and even my hallway has all these beautiful books, these beautiful pieces of literature that the teachers can pull into their classrooms and use. We have several different genres of books, so it's not just one particular type of text. Children are exposed to different variety. We have biographies, we have narrative nonfiction, we have expository nonfiction, we have several different types of fiction, realistic fiction, mysteries, which is really lovely because the teachers can select books that are tying into their current unit of study to help the students practice and reinforce the skills that are taught during their literacy block. When giving a guided reading group, initially it starts for the teacher with goals, and this program is inherently differentiated, which is beautiful. So it's not a one-size-fits-all program. Teachers are carefully selecting these books to ensure that the students who are reading them have access, and they're providing them with scaffolding and support that really helps them develop and grow as readers. So the goals that are aligned to each book are stated clearly within the first page of the teacher's guide. And then the teacher will spend I'll pass these around, I guess, while I'm talking about it. Here's one more. And I bought a couple of different genres so you can see the variety. Then it also gets into the analysis of the book characteristics. So depending on the genre of book, the text that the teacher has selected, it will talk about the different text structure, the different themes and ideas, and the vocabulary that students might need to be front-loaded so that they have access to the text. The lesson does then start with introducing the text. This is incredibly important because it's providing students with the background knowledge and vocabulary that they will need to properly understand the text or the story. And then the students will engage in a discussion. That is led by the teacher because this is, again, developing their background knowledge and their schema. So this portion of the lesson is more teacher-directed. Once we go through introducing the text, that's when the children read. And to me, this is the most beautiful part of the guided reading lesson because this is where the teacher gets access to really listening and seeing how each child is developing as a reader. So as they're reading the text, the teacher is coaching in student by student, listening to them read, taking data, taking notes, and then we're using that information to further guide our group instruction going forward. Once the children have finished reading the text, then we go into a beautiful discussion, revisiting the text. This program is set up in a way that the teacher here at this point is the facilitator, and the discussion really is in the hands of the children. The teacher, as the facilitator, is really driving the conversation and listening to see how the children are interpreting the book, how they are thinking analytically, how they are really becoming, growing their own ideas and developing these thoughts that really make us deep, meaningful readers. We want to make sure that the children, as a facilitator, the children are not only thinking literally about the text, but we want to encourage them to have those deeper, more meaningful conversations beyond the text and about the text, really, going into inferencing and also thinking more deeply about author's craft and author's purpose. Once that is done, this is really a beautiful thing about the program as well. After all of this conversation has happened, the teacher can really think and analyze and really see, what are the needs of these students? What can I teach them? So this is really the epitome of responsive teaching. So listening to the students, listening, and understanding what they need going forward. The teacher is then able to provide that teaching point that's going to help drive them as they continue to grow as readers. There are also some other components of the guided reading lesson. There is word work, which touches upon a variety of different aspects. We do morphology, there's syllabication, there's breaking up multisyllabic words, figurative language. So there's all really beautiful word work tucked in that we'll talk about with the students after we have that discussion. Then there's also a writing about reading component where the children are able to really reflect and think about what they have just read and then respond to that in their readers' notebooks. And then there is ongoing assessment that's happening throughout this time. So teachers are able to take running records as the children are reading during the reading the text component. Teachers take notes based on the discussion to see, what are the strengths of the students, what do they need to continue working on, and then we take all of that information and we use it to drive our next group. So everything is tied together with a nice little bow, and this really gives us so much information. And again, this type of group is so tailored to the needs of the students because we're getting all this information from this particular group of kids. This book is specifically, picked for them and for their needs, and we're able to really provide them with the skills and the structures that they need to kind of build upon that nice little reading ladder to help them grow and develop as readers. Okay. Woo. With that being said, we have some photos for you. So you can see many of the teachers are pulled with a small group, but then also, while the teachers are working with their group, we have a guided reading group going on. Mrs. Greco is doing some word work during her guided reading group. We have a guided reading group schedule so the teachers know, specifically who am I meeting with on this day. It's a rotating schedule, so each child is touched upon. We have one-on-one instruction happening. And then we also have those blocks of time scheduled, very specifically for the students so that they have different activities during each block of time, and that's what's displayed on the board so the kids know, exactly what they're doing while they're waiting to be called for their group. Here we have another center rotation schedule that another teacher has, kids working independently. They're super engaged. The books that they have are, and you see they're full of pictures and great vocabulary. The kids love reading them. They bring up great discussions. So they really just do enjoy working with these books and working together and working with each other and learning and growing from one another. And then with that being said, should I turn it back over to you? That's the video.
So before I start the video, I have to say, we're talking tonight about programs, but I have to say the greatest investment, and I truly believe this in my heart, the greatest investment that we have made this year in our elementary schools are the introduction of literacy coaches at all 3 schools. I cannot adequately express to you the effect that Maria Elena has had not only on the teachers, but the students. While her work is primarily with the teachers, she meets with all teacher groups once a week collectively. She's also pushing into classes. She's working one-on-one. And while that's something that administration does do, she removes that evaluative piece of it, and teachers are very comfortable with her. They have a relationship with her. She was a teacher in our building prior to stepping into the coaching role, but she has grown, just in these few short months that school has began, she has grown our teachers tremendously. The work that they're doing, the deep dives that they're doing with kids, the analysis of the data that we're gathering on students is a testament to her work. So thank you for giving us literacy coaches. It has been just truly really life-changing, and I mean that.
Hi, I'm Joanna Sinisi, principal of Greenvale School. Here at Greenvale, we utilize Fontes and Pinnell guided reading program, and this is one of the key components of our win. Students are seeing 3 out of the 6 days of the cycle with the teacher. This is targeted instruction to the exact needs of the child. And this is where we're really moving the needle on individualized instruction. Students are getting exactly what they need. Teachers are using data that's collected from our assessment periods to create small groups of students. A teacher can create very targeted, specific instruction around what a child needs to increase their comprehension and fluency around reading.
Hi, my name is Marielena Barbuto. I'm a literacy coach here at Greenvale, and the WIN period is a really beautiful part of our daily schedule. My role in the WIN period is really providing support and helping them create sound systems and structures to help support students in their literacy instruction. WIN is really called What I Need, so our job is to make sure that we are using our data efficiently and providing students with tailored instruction that specifically meets their needs. And we look specifically to see what is it that each child would benefit from. We use our F&P literacy program to provide students with an environment in which they're reading a variety of different texts, looking at those texts through different lenses. I am seeing the students so super engaged, not just the students who are working in small groups with the teachers, but also the students who are working independently.
So my name's Ava, I'm in Greenville, and we do this thing called WIN when we do small groups with Miss Canali. So we have 3 days with Miss Canali, and the first day we just talk about the book, look through the book a little bit, and then the next day when we come back to Miss Canali, we'll read the book, and then the third day we'll answer questions.
Something that's very important within the WIN and the F&P program is student accountability. And you heard Ava there talk about the expectations and the outcomes that come out of each book. You know, there are 3 days within the book. But we think it's important that children can verbalize, why are they reading this book? What are they learning from it? What are they expecting to get out of it? And then in the end, you know, did they enjoy it? What did they find great about it? And taking that back, because there's also other groups happening at the time. We could do a whole nother presentation on MTSS and data. But this is where we're using the data from our assessment windows that we're having 3 times a year, and then we come together with the teachers. We talk about every single child, 467 students we talked about over 2 days, met with every teacher. And this is where we're outlining a very differentiated program for each child. And the F&P reading program is just a small piece of it. And these are, you know, just some ways that students are accountable. We can also see here at Greenvale the outcomes that it has had on our New York State ELA proficiencies. You can see in 2021-22, that was my first year at Greenvale, we had 29% of children approaching, 43% meeting, and 26% exceeding. And every year, we rolled out the WIN, then we rolled out our new reading program. You can see our approaching students has decreased steadily over the past 3 years, and our proficient levels at levels 3 and 4 has grown from 69% to 72% to 75%. So we are really seeing the fruits of our labor at Greenvale within the WIN and our literacy programming. And now with the addition of Maria Elena, we're excited to see where it's going to go. So I hope that's a little plug for a math coach for next year. Just putting that in there. But really, you know, we're so excited about the work we're doing. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present our programs. And I think you can see, while it looks different at every school, we are having tremendous outcomes. So thank you very much.
What a terrific, we have lots of questions, so let's try and manage that. But I want to thank all the elementary educators. You've seen an enormously expert and adept presentation tonight. The secondary folk have a hard act to follow, believe me.
Yes.
Dr. DeMarco, I think you had a question.
I just want to thank the Greenvale team for that presentation. Mrs. Sinisi, I know over the past few years, you've done a really wonderful job of ensuring that the WIN period is well utilized. I know from my son in Greenvale now and from my older son who was in 5th grade last year, it seemed that at different parts in the year, they would report on different things that were going on, which is exactly what it should be, right? What I need. So whether it was an opportunity for STEM and a marble run or reinforcing math skills, it was really nice to see that it was being differentiated very nicely. And it's nice for the community to now see all of the great things that are going on. So thank you to everybody.
Chrissy, yeah?
I just wanted to say thank you. You know, a lot of these initiatives really came from the community and parents when we do coffee and conversations and emails that we get. And when we did this survey about what parents are interested, they were interested in FLES and SEL and the WIN period. So it's so nice to see all of these initiatives come to life. And I know it's a lot of work, so I just wanted to say thank you very much. Also, I had a couple of questions. So we saw tonight that a lot of parents are interested in accelerated learning, gifted and talented. I know that's something that I think we've been lacking for a long time. We've been very good at giving students support when needed, but not so great at the accelerated part. So this is all amazing tonight. I wanted to ask, it seems to me, I don't know, but it seems to me that what you're doing seems like you are differentiating the learning and you are addressing that. And I just want to, I don't know who wants to answer, but I wanted to ask, do you think that these programs and the WIN period is sufficient to address the accelerated learning? Anyone?
I think if you can, because of the streaming, just in case anybody's watching at home.
So I can speak to that about the F&P program, and you know, we could spend another night talking about math and science and social studies. But the beauty of F&P is our library, you saw all those books in Maria Elena's room, we have hundreds of books, in addition to hundreds of books in the classroom. And so this is an extension of our regular literacy program, our units of study and reading, where, you know, studies have shown us over and over again that student choice is a huge driver in achievement, that students have a choice. We're no longer putting a basal reader in front of kids and saying, everybody read the same story. They have a choice, but then we also have the opportunity to say to those, especially those accelerated learners, we have books that go up through a high school level. So in 5th grade, they're reading longer text, novels, they're having book clubs. The discussion is very deep and very rich around it. So yes, the WIN allows us to be extremely differentiated. These groups are only of 5, 6 kids at a time. So you have it runs the gamut of levels in the classroom. So we're able to speak to those individual needs. And I think, you know, we're also doing a really great job of using data to drive that. We have, you know, something that's grounding. It's not just a guess, like, let me see where this kid may end up, or a unit test that's telling us that. We have universal screeners, we have reading assessments, we have math assessments, and these are all telling us this is what this child is really great at, because accelerated learners, they also have needs too, and how can we push them even further? So using that data and these programs that allow for differentiation, we are able to run the gamut of all levels of learners.
I'll just add a little bit about how Great Books does that. So the stories, both in fiction and nonfiction, are really high level. So that's why the first read and the second read are read by the teacher, because it's really rich. The vocabulary is really, really rich. And in that, we expect our at and above grade levels. We accelerate them. We give access to others, and then we expect things. We have a rubric, and we expect other things from those learners, and we keep pushing them. And they have to hit all the critical thinking skills. They should be asking interpretive questions. They should be making inferences. And then when it comes to their writing, it should be in a paragraph form with their critical thinking backed by evidence. So the expectation we have rubrics for, and we're pushing those, and we're accelerating learning for those kids specifically.
Thank you. And I have one more question, if you don't mind. FLES looks amazing. I know there were some concerns about all these things are amazing, but there's only so much time in the day, and how do you fit in ELA and FLES and SEL? and I'm glad to see that you are incorporating SEL into other things, but I just wanted to ask, how is the schedule going? Like, how do you feel FLES and the WIN period, like, do you have enough time for everything? Because I know that was a concern.
I don't think we're going to win any contest if we say we need more time to extend the school day. But I mean, we could always, but no, we're making it work. I mean, we're definitely going to do some tweaks. No, I don't think anybody would be happy with that. We're definitely, you know, obviously we're noting where we're struggling and within the schedule, and we'll make tweaks for next year. You know, you're right, there's only so much time. So library took a hit this year. We're going to try and figure out how we can incorporate that back into the specials rotation. The teachers have been great as adding that to the WIN, but whatever you're adding, you know, you're taking away from somewhere else. So we are making it work, you know, looking to tweak the FLES schedule. You know, we don't know how long, do we need a 90-minute block? Because that's part of it right now. We're just trying to examine and right now collect data on what's working, what's not. You know, each year we find a way to make it fit. So it's a puzzle, and it happens every year, but it's working right now, and we'll make tweaks for next year.
Thank you. I just have a question in terms of, like, on the Great Books, Laura, as you said, there's that rubric from like day 1 through day 6. How do you handle, or how do you measure the 4th and 5th grade children who are also getting pulled out for chorus band or orchestra? Because from what I understand, their pullout happens during WIN, so they're effectively missing.
It
part
depends,
of that?
because
Okay.
there's WIN A and WIN B. So it depends. They're 2 30-minute blocks. So if they're leaving during Great Books, generally the teacher has something set up. All of our stories are on audio. So the teacher has something set up when they get back, or at a different time of the day where they can listen to the story and be prepared for the second day when they will be there.
Okay.
That hasn't happened as often as everyone's kind of thinks. If they do miss a day, they absolutely catch up on the story because we have it on audio, so they're prepared.
Okay.
But if you're there, we expect the same things that we would expect. So,
Perfect. No, thank you.
Well, first, a round of applause, because I think these programs are just phenomenal, and I really wish that this is more a public service announcement for all of the new families that are coming into the district. These are so unexpected, these programs, and I think most of my colleagues here have heard me say before, my children have graduated. My youngest just graduated last year, and I really wish, and they would kill me if I said this, that they could start all over again. I really wish I could start all over again, because it's just amazing how far we have come as a district, and the programs with FLES, WIN, Junior Books. I mean, it's just, I am just floored, overwhelmed. It's really amazing. So come to Eastchester.
I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're very good. So we want to thank again our elementary educators. They bring not only life and energy and vitality, but a lot of color. And as I say, our secondary team has quite an act to follow for next week. But I'll call Chris and Madeline tomorrow and alert them if they're not watching right now. So on that note, did we answer all the board's questions? This is your workshop, your opportunity. And I think this really is what we need to do more of. Show off our students, show off our teachers, show off the enormous opportunities that we've created here at Eastchester. So one last round of applause, okay? Thank you, guys. And I want to acknowledge Dr. Chester out there, our director. She joined us tonight, and she plays a role, too. Okay. Okay, my report is finished, and I guess it's in your hands, Madam Board President.
Well, our future meeting dates, the board has a retreat on Tuesday, December 3rd, followed by a regular meeting on December 17th. Let's see. So now we are now because this is a work session, there is no public comment. So while I am at the adjournment section, I do have to make the motion. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Right? Jackie, do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, so the meeting is adjourned, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Very happy
Yes.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
you.